Not many people know much about Laos, but it is a country that can't be ignored any longer. It is the only landlocked country in Southeast Asia, bordered by China, Myanmar, Vietnam, Cambodia and Thailand. The population of Laos is estimated to be about 6.1 million and has one of the highest annual growth rates in the area. Despite the warm and relaxed welcome that travellers are renowned to receive in Laos, this is not a country with a happy history. Between 1964 and 1973, the USA dropped more bombs on Laos than was dropped on all of Europe during World War II. It was equal to a plane load of bombs every 8 minutes, 24 hours a day for 9 years. It is also estimated that around 1/3 of the bombs dropped never exploded. This equates to about 80 million unexploded bombs littering the countryside of Laos. The country was irreparably shaken from the attacks, with 1/3 of the population killed, injured or left homeless. The beautiful landscape is still scarred from the devastation inflicted upon it. There is a legacy of poverty and hardship for the people of this country, stemming from a war that was not even their own. Laos remains the second poorest country in the Mekong area and is classified as a least developed country. Damaged infrastructure and an unsupportable reliance on agriculture mean that the country still relies heavily on donor assistance. 74% of the population live on less than $2 a day. 50% of rural children are deemed to be severely malnourished. And with no government welfare system to speak of, the elderly, disabled or those injured by unexploded bombs are left with nothing. In the aftermath of such destruction, a Laos woman called Kamali Chantabong decided to create something instead. She started a weaving group of 10 displaced and desperate women in the lower level of her house. Today, her business sells products all over the world and gives vocation to over 1,000 people. Kamali still had infant children when she decided to make more of a difference in her devastated country. What she started as a weaving group in her house quickly took life and grew. When Laos finally opened its damaged doors in 1990, a refugee support group from Thailand called Karma Services came to joint venture with Kamali. She said goodbye to her family as she returned to her hometown that was destroyed by the barrage of bombing. What she found there gave birth to a life-changing idea. In Phonsavan, she found that a lot of people were still farming silk, but they were only able to produce enough for just their own families. Kamali decided to find out what other techniques could be used to enhance or help these producers make more silk fibre. Many of the women in the weaving group were using silk at the time which came from Thailand, Vietnam or China. Her desire was to revive silk farming in Laos, so that they would no longer have to import silk into the country. So that's what she did. With help from the government, Kamali established a silk centre in Phonsavan and helped the devastated villagers of the area to repair their lives through working. She showed them how to enact the full cycle of silk production in a sustainable and long-lasting way. Each village has a specialised task in the process, meaning that each product goes through a large number of hands. It began with raising cattle and using the manure as organic fertiliser. This fertiliser fueled the growth of the mulberry trees. The leaves are not only used to feed the silkworms, but the leaves and fruit are also used to make mulberry tea and natural dye. The silkworms are incredibly delicate and need very careful and delicate care. On the 28th day of their lives, the silkworms spin themselves a cocoon, sometimes yellow and sometimes white. Another group of people are in charge of extracting the silk thread. The cocoons are placed in hot water, and when the fibres loosen, a thread is formed. 30 cocoons are needed to produce one silk thread. Another village, 6 hours away from the last, specialises in spinning the silk. The thread needs to be spun at least 6 times before it is soft enough to dye. The art of producing a natural dye is an intricate process that can take 7 or 8 years to perfect. The people need to know all the plants that can be used to produce dyes. Those that can be used as binding agents. Which one can be used as a cold dye or a hot dye? How long the silk needs to cook to produce a certain colour, and how to mix colours. Sometimes silk has to be dyed 6 or 7 times before achieving a particular colour. The silk then has to be spun 2 more times after it is dyed before it is finally ready for weaving. Many villagers take part in the process, as silk weaving is an institution in the area. Every house in the area has a silk loom, and weaving is something that every Laos girl will learn and continue to do for the rest of her life. This intricate and involved process produces the beautiful fair trade wares that you can see in shops in Melbourne. This process, enacted by people like Kamali, means that more people get a life-supporting vocation and that they're paid a fair wage for their arduous work. Fair trade businesses are taking off worldwide, but at the moment it is still not enough. It needs to become the norm rather than a novelty process, because fair trade actually works. We can see via Kamali that fair trade farms are vital for people such as those in Laos who are devastated by war. It means that they might get a chance to educate their children or receive proper health care. Fair trade means that workers are getting a just price for their products. Fair trade is a pivotal issue for human rights, as it is giving people a right that they should already have and that we take for granted. Fair trade now relies on you, the consumer. You have to become aware that you can actually make a difference to people who live thousands of kilometres away.